Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. This is 2 days before Milton's going to hit in Englewood, Florida, or Port Charlotte, actually the East Englewood section. I'm on the west side of the Minnetonka River. I'm about 3/4 of a mile away from it. And I'm on elevation right now about 17 feet above sea level. And the house is about 3 feet higher. It's about 20 feet above sea level. There's a big drainage ditch behind the house that's 5 foot deep, 14 feet wide that the county has. And this is the tree line across the street. And this is looking to the east and southeast, and this is where these bands are going to come from. So I'm hoping the shop, the Carolina Carport Shop, is going to withstand this. It's rated at 170 miles an hour. The storm's going to come ashore much weaker than that. And the only tree that we really have on our property is what I call Eileen, which is a palm tree. It's about 12 feet right there. That has been leaning like that since Ian. So the shop itself is supposed to have inspection today from Charlotte County. And I really wouldn't be surprised if they call up and say, hey, we canceled that. We aren't coming. But all the stuff is in the shop. I'm going to try and get stuff up off the ground today that, high value items, guitar amplifiers and stuff, and on the top of benches. I already put up the rack. It's hard to see in the dark here, but that's a guitar rack on the wall. And that'll keep the guitars off the ground because, like I said, I've got 3 guitars in here already that somebody brought in from flooding from Helene, so we don't need to double flood their guitars, right? All right, so I'm going to pause this and I'm going to switch to the other mount and we'll go from there. All right, so here I am at the bench with the shop in the background, and we're going to talk a little bit about the hurricane situation. This is going to be our second hurricane. Actually, the first one was a tropical storm, which was Helene, that skirted by us by about 100 miles off the coast of the west coast of Florida. And it pushed a lot of storm surge up. Like I said, I'm about 3/4 of a mile from the Minnetonka River. And I specifically chose this property in a 4-year hunt for a house and a place to put the shop based on not in the flood zone. So we're hoping that this holds out. It's pretty much one of the highest spots in this subdivision. The house is about 20 feet above mean sea level. The shop is about 3 feet lower. And like I said, in the backyard here from the shop, sloping down about 3 feet from the floor of the shop is the top of that 5-foot drainage ditch. And the bottom of that drainage ditch is, I assume, is 2 to 3 feet above sea level. So that's where we're at with that. It's real calm out today, and it's pretty much always calm 2 days before. Tomorrow we'll see what's going on. I'm trying not to get involved with all the hype and everything that we're all going to die and run Forrest run and everything that goes on. And I hate to sound crusty, but this is like hurricane number 25 or 26. I lost count. And everyone is different. What I do know about this one right now is that we're probably on the extreme southern side of it here, which means we're going to get beater bands that are coming up from the east and the southeast and are going to hit us in waves, if you will. And I like to talk about these as being, for you engineering guys out there, bending moment. They're going to apply pressure and waves to bend stuff and knock stuff over, opposed to the west side of the storm that Ian was, which we call the buzzsaw, because that's shear moment. And for some reason, it seems the east side of the storms, you never see trees snapped off 50 feet in the air or 30 feet in the air. But on the west side of the storm, you see them snapped off everywhere from 5 feet above the ground to the treetops, and they're everywhere. So we are not going to be on the west side of the storm. How the storm surge impacts us is storm surge operates off 2 things. One is the millibars of mercury, and the low pressure allows the high tide to exceed its normal boundaries. Physics works once again, right? But storm surge will depend on what time the storm arrives here. If it arrives during a high tide, it'll be worse. And if it arrives during a low tide, it won't be as bad. And, you know, they kind of have this blanket storm surge thing that's going all the way up the coast and all the way down the coast, and everybody's getting 10 feet. Generally, and I'm saying this generally, I am not a meteorologist. I did take weather classes. Generally, the west side of the storm draws water out, the east side pushes water in. The storms all spin counterclockwise in this hemisphere, so that's what we're dealing with. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to elevate some of the amplifiers up, so if the water does come in, they are significantly above the floor level, and I don't expect the water levels to get here. I'm being hopeful. And one of my favorite quotes from a movie is from the Tom Hanks movie, Bridge of Spies, where he's defending the Soviet colonel for espionage, and he could be sentenced to death in the United States. And he asks the colonel, he says, "Are you worried?" And the colonel looks him dead in the eye and goes, "Would it help?" And that's where we're at now. It won't help. And to go over everybody goes, "Well, you should evacuate." To where? Exactly. You know, I-75 North and I-95 North are parking lots pretty much. You'll be out there with 1 million of your best new friends that you haven't met yet, and gas evaporates along that, well, I don't know what that was. Gas evaporates along that route really fast, and there are no places to get rooms. And I've had a friend who actually rode a hurricane out up in Ocala because he tried to get out of the state. Some people are successful, they get out, I know, and there are people that go, "We get out every time we try." Okay, thanks, that's great. I'm just not getting into that lottery. It's me, my girlfriend, and the cat, and you know, the house is a monolith. It's concrete block with rebar, with slurry, with the roof strapped to the walls, with a brand new roof after Hurricane Ian, and a brand new pool cage with 6-inch structural aluminum trusses and supports, and double diagonal bracing on it with turnbuckles and cables and anchors and all that stuff. If it's gonna go, it's gonna go. This shop I'm sitting in is rated to 170. I'm expecting probably gusts of up to 100, 120 because of the category of the storm when it comes ashore, and that we are going to be on the extreme southern limit of it as far as a hurricane goes. Now this all could change. It could shift and come further south. And you know, back in 2004, Hurricane Charlie was supposed to come into Tampa and turned right into Port Charlotte and went right up Charlotte Harbor. So you just never know with these things. And you have to keep a good attitude, and you have to stay positive. And the world is not going to end. After the storm passes, we'll clean up, we'll move on, and keep fixing guitars. And I can hear my neighbors' drills running and stuff. Right now they're putting up storm shutters on houses, and they're trying to close in homes that are under construction, and it gets a little panicky, but if everybody remains calm, we generally get through these. Now I'm just finishing up repairing 3 guitars for a customer that were flooded in Tropical Storm Helene. Well, for him it was a hurricane. For me it was a tropical storm. And the problem with this is salt water infusion into the pots and everything. And everybody will say, "Oh, just spray the pots with deoxit and stuff." Yeah, you could do that. And as soon as that evaporates and those salt crystals reform, the pots are screwed. You just throw them out. Don't even, you know, if somebody ever brings you a guitar that was flooded in salt water with pots in it, toss them. They're not going to work. They might work a little bit. They're going to be scratchy. You're going to feel them. Salt water does a tremendous amount of damage to electronics. So I'm waiting for some parts to come in so I can fix those. I did put the guitar rack up on the wall, so if it gets to like 22 feet above sea level in the river, hey, you know, I can't help you there. It was meant to be. I doubt it's going to get that high. I'm guessing we're probably going to see about 5-6 feet of storm surge, and I don't know for how long. Generally, whenever we have these hurricanes and the dynamics change as the wind direction does as it moves inland, we're going to probably have about 12 hours of really shitty weather where, you want to go crazy and you're like, and you hope you have electricity through it, because even if the electricity goes out, at that point in time, you're not rolling out a generator going, oh, I'm going to start my generator and everything's going to be fine. No, you got to wait for the storm to kind of pass before you can get out there and get that generator in clear air to where you could start it up and run it and wire it in to what you've got to do. And you have to have bypass switches if you're wiring it into your house electrics. If you run extension cords to specific items, which is usually what we do, you don't need the bypass switch. And the reason for that is if there are power guys working on lines that are down, they're assuming that those lines aren't energized. If you have your generator hooked to those lines, you have energized those lines again, because electricity follows the path of least resistance, just like water. And that's the thing here. I'm not calling out the meteorologist guys saying there's going to be 10 to 12 feet of water everywhere in Florida, because the Gulf of Mexico is only 4 feet deep, a mile out, and and where's all this water coming from? They don't know, but it's going to follow the path of least resistance when it comes ashore, and that's generally what you go by. And you can't tell by volumes what you're going to get. I just know when they make a ridiculous claim, like one year they said that from Chokoloskee down to the tip of Florida, we were going to have 10 feet of water, 19 miles inland, and I was like, where are they getting all this water from? Once again, the Gulf of Mexico is a shallow body of water until you get out to middle ground, and that's further north than us and way out. And you can push as much water as you want, but generally, the further inland you get, the smaller amounts wind up on the ground pulling up. Rivers and stuff change that dynamic, I know. But anyway, that's it for the weather report, and we're going to do one more of these before we get back to doing the aftermath, and then the guitar repair shop construction, because it's going pretty good. I got a lot of stuff organized, a lot of stuff rehomed. I've got some workflow stuff set up, and I appreciate you guys all watching. If you like the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We've got about 1,300 subscribers. We've got some giveaways that are going to be coming up before Christmas, and I'm going to put a Christmas list out of the top 10 items to get a guitar player for Christmas this year. So if you have any ideas of what you think is a really cool thing to get a guitar player, and let's keep it like under, $100, right? Maybe $200. Let's keep it under $250. So don't come up there and say a 59 Les Paul. Yeah, that would be a great thing to get any guitar player this year. It's just not going to happen for most of us. So this is Tom at Talent Guitar Works. Only half my ideas are any good. Hope my ideas for this hurricane are all right. Not running anywhere, just going to be here and hopefully playing guitar, and I keep electricity like we kept electricity through Helene. So we'll catch you on the next video, pre-storm, and then the aftermath video. Boogada boogada.